All right, here we go. Welcome back to yet another video in a series that I'm pretty sure nobody asked for, but I'm just going to continue to do anyways because it gives me something to do. That's not true. I enjoy doing it, and it's just kind of fun to talk about the music that you're listening to and what you liked about it. So to start off with, that's what this video is about. So this is all the sort of physical media that I listened to over the past month. Stuff that was like new to the library and just general thoughts about it. So to start off with, we're going to do our Bandcamp sort of purchases. One of the fun things about living in English Canada is that a lot of French Canadian music is not necessarily generally available to you in physical form, so you kind of have to go to like Bandcamp to find it. But these are two CDs that I discovered when I was living in Montreal that I really liked, and I'm going to share them with you right now. So the first one is Bulletproof by a rapper named Calamine. This is awesome. This is just fantastic. I really enjoy the stuff that she puts out, and this is probably my favorite of her work thus far. It's very jazzy, very like laid back, very just cool. I think is the best description for it. If you have never heard Calamine before, I would recommend starting with Bulletproof. Personally, songs you might want to check out on here are Hoshla Girl is fantastic. I really liked Geisha Sometimes, Cowboy to Le Temps. That was fantastic. And what else is great on here? Dans le but et de stade is fantastic. Je Sweep is also great. But yeah, the entire thing's really fantastic. So I recommend that you check that out if you get the chance. Next up, we have, this is by a Métis artist. Her name is Willows, with an S. And I remember driving around and hearing somebody talk about this on the radio, and I was like, that sounds really cool, I'm going to check that out. And so I did, and I was very happy with it. And this came out around the same time as, what was Madison Beer's second album, where she's running through a cornfield but with a white dress? Anyway, the album cover to me was very interesting because like there's that weird duality of things that were going on. This is really fantastic though. Willows, as far as I know, is maybe currently based in Montreal. If not, then she's somewhere else. But yeah, she's a Métis singer-songwriter. This is fantastic stuff. It's got sort of like a traditional sort of folk music vibe to it, but it also has a very modern sort of sound to it as well. So it's really great. Things I might have you check out on here if you've never heard of Willows before. I should also tell you that it's called Maison Vente. That would probably help you to find the album. So it's called Maison Vente, and it's great. So I might recommend that you check out Libwe is fantastic. I thought that Tuechuli Machif is fantastic as well. Who I Am was great. And probably Marianne, the opening track on this album is like amazing. So the entire thing's great. I would check it out if I was you and you're interested in maybe sort of like traditional folk music from Canada, specifically like Métis music to some extent. It's just really great stuff. So yeah, check it out. Next up, we have our CD collection. And so our CD collection this month grew in some very fun ways. I got back into like pop music a lot more, which was fantastic. So first off, I got Madison Beer's new album Lock It, because the connection with Willows there. This was really great. I really liked this. I remember hearing some of these tracks before this came out, as it was slowly like released as singles and stuff, and I just thought it was really cool, and it was on my list to check out, and I now own it, and I'm very happy with it. I thought it was really kind of interesting. It felt a little bit more poppy than her previous album, which I can't remember the name of right now, but I just described what the album cover for it was. But yeah, so it felt a lot more poppy than that album, and I really liked the sort of like shift into like a synth pop sort of vibe that was going on here. And so yeah, so songs I would have you check out on here if you've never heard anything from Madison Beer or even Lock It before, would be Yes Baby. That was fantastic. I really liked Make You Mine was good. And I would also say For the Night stood out to me. But I mean, the entire album was also just kind of good together. So if you're listening to it, just listen to the whole thing. It's that simple. So yeah, so I really enjoyed that, and that was cool. Next up was an album that I bought to sort of sit down and study at some point in time, because I think his guitar work is really interesting. This is the Best of J.J. Cale. So this is just greatest hits collection of his greatest hits, obviously. And I thought this was really cool to pick up because I've been listening to some Eric Clapton not too long before I got this, and I wanted to get more of a sense of J.J. Cale's just like guitar work, because like his like Tulsan sort of blues has a bit of like a New Orleans kind of vibe to it, and it's just very interesting to listen to because it's very like slow and kind of relaxed in some weird ways, and that really, I guess, is what sort of helped Clapton change parts of his playing style as well. Clapton even covered a few of the songs that are on here. If you've never heard of J.J. Cale before and you are not a fan of Eric Clapton, then you probably haven't heard them. But if you have, then it would be Call Me the Breeze and After Midnight and Cocaine. Those would be probably the three that I could think of, and even really it's just the two. It's probably just Cocaine and After Midnight. So there you go. But yeah, so things I would check out on here if you've never heard J.J. Cale before: Call Me the Breeze, After Midnight, Cocaine, and I also kind of really enjoyed like some of the later stuff, like Mama Don't was pretty fun as like a little like bluesy kind of vibe. Money Talks was also great. Rock and Roll Records was fantastic, but yeah, J.J. Cale was really cool. I haven't sat down and sort of like tried to delve into that guitar style all too much because I've been focusing more of my time and energy on watching the World Cup right now, which has been a lot of fun to just have like vast hours of your day, like 12 hours of your day just blocked off for football. But yeah, it's been good. So yeah, so I haven't done a whole lot since FIFA started. Um, but before FIFA started, I did make some lo-fi stuff that I've been streaming. So one of the things I like to do is I make lo-fi beats, and you can find that on streaming as I go by Zed Billard, Zedbillard. So you can find me on pretty much any streaming platform that's available right now. I also have some like singer-songwriter stuff that I did on SoundCloud, but none of that stuff's monetized. It's just sort of me making demos, seeing how it sounds, and putting it out there for feedback, which I don't get, which is totally fine, because I just keep making more stuff to put out and sort of following my own arrow, if you will. Foreshadowing. Okay, so next up is a CD that I heard a lot when I was at the CD store picking out stuff, and it just grew on me, and like I decided I was going to buy it. So this was Ella Langley's Dandelion. This is really great. I love her voice. I love her, the melodies of this, and I really like a lot of the songs, the words of this. This ended up being the like most listened to album that I had this month. Mostly just sitting right here listening to CDs in the background, and this became the one that I gravitated towards the most, which is kind of funny because one of the songs on here is about it's in Dandelion, where it's about just being like more of a porch kind of person. In this case, more of a yard kind of person. But yeah, it was really great. I really liked her sort of snippets of Froggy Went a Courtin', and that's sort of how I got hooked into this. And then the rest of the songs just started to grow in my brain. I think I heard it at least 2, maybe 3 times when I was at the record store before I bought it, and I was like, yes, this is what I need right now. But yeah, stuff I would check out on here if you've never heard of Ella Langley before. Dandelion. I thought Low Lights was really cool. You and Me Time was great. I also really liked Most Good Things Do. But yes, the album is just really fantastic altogether. It's perfect for sitting out on your back porch and just enjoying nature. So yeah, definitely check that one out if you're interested. Next up is an album that I remember hearing on streaming when it came out, and then I was waiting for sort of the what do you call it? Extended edition? Is that what they're called now? Whatever it's called. Because I really enjoy like all the bonus tracks that get put into her collections. And so I got A Matter of Time, the Final Hour edition by Leve, because I'd previously gotten the Goddess edition of Bewitched. And so this was fantastic. I really, really liked this. I remember the first time listening to it just as the standard album and enjoying it. And so I was really excited to see what other sort of tracks she was going to throw in as the bonus version. And I was really, really happy with this. So yeah, if you never heard this before, what might I suggest you check out on here? Lover Girl was fantastic. I really liked the Cuckoo Ballet interlude, just as like a piece of music in the background. It was really fantastic, sort of as like a reprise almost of all the themes of the previous songs. What else? Clean Air was great. Castle in Hollywood. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff on the standard album that was good. And then in terms of the bonus tracks that I liked, I really liked Mad Woman and I Wait, I Wait, I Wait. So this has been a really fun pickup as well, especially going off the theme of sitting in the backyard. It's very naturalistic in sense of like it's art and stuff, so it's fit in really well. And I've really, really liked it, and that has in the past couple of weeks been one that I've listened to a lot more, and really, really enjoyed, and just sort of like picked out different parts of it. To sort of like make note that I'm going to study at some point in time, because like it'd be fun to learn how to play like bossa nova and stuff. Like I just got a sort of like a hollow body electric guitar, and so it'll be able to work with that a lot more, which is great. Next up we have a live album by Dua Lipa. This is Dua Lipa's Live from the Royal Albert Hall. I've also been streaming Live in Mexico, which just came out as well. And I think both of them are really cool live albums for different reasons. The first one is Mexico is really nice because it's sort of like, it operates as both like a live CD and also a greatest hits collection as one, which is a really cool idea. I really like when people do that. And so that's really kind of cool about that one. But what I really like about Royal Albert Hall, and this has become slightly more my favorite at this moment in time, is that it's an orchestral backing for all of these tracks, and so it gives them a very sort of like Bond kind of feel to them, which is fantastic because around this time, it was either before or after this, she was in Argyle, so basically Dua Lipa is a Bond girl, so it makes sense that she would have a Bond album, or a Bond sounding album, let's put it that way. And so this is great. I really, really liked it, because I like when people take a risk to sort of change the way that their music sounds. And so yeah, this has actually been, right now, has the edge over Live from Mexico for me. So this was great. Stuff I would check out if I was you. The entire Act 1 of the album is just the orchestral version of Radical Optimism, which is an album that I spent quite a bit of time listening to while traveling around the world in like 2023, 2024. And so having this live version that's orchestral, that's like kind of like Bondy in its nature, is really awesome to have as like a counterpoint to that album in my head. In terms of Act 2 stuff, I think you should check out for sure. Her cover of Sunshine is fantastic. I really, really like it. I enjoyed the sort of remix of Dance the Night. That was really great. And I thought that Love Again sounded really cool because it's already got that sort of orchestral quality to it, and so it's just cooler. It just sounds amazing to have this extra thing added into it. So yeah, so Royal Albert Hall right now is my favorite thing. Which also brings me to more of these paper CDs. And so one thing that's been interesting in collecting CDs again is going back and learning that CDs are now being put into cardboard, which is awesome. That's great, right? People, I think, are on board with this recycling. It seems to become more of a trend as vinyl has come back into vogue as well. But one thing is that every record company has a completely different way of doing it. So it's like when CDs were first invented, everything went into the standard jewel case, right? the CD was invented, and then this jewel case was invented, and it has never changed in its size. So most CD racks are built to carry this. They're not built to carry like something that is just differently sized, and that's fine. Because the music on it is still great. It just is annoying as like a storage sort of thing. And I found that Warner is probably like the worst offender for this, because the next album I was going to pull out is by Mac Miller. This is The Divine Feminine. And so these albums are all too long and slightly too tall for the standard CD. And then they've also started to do, I have a couple Warner albums that are this size as well, which are slightly more of like the traditional square format, but they're still like too big for traditional shelving. And so I just thought that was really interesting, because yeah, I don't know what Warner is doing with their CDs, but their cardboard packaging is just all over the place in terms of what sizing they use for it. So I just thought that was kind of humorous, and it makes it kind of fun as like a person buying a CD to be like, yes, I want to hear what's on this, but I'm gonna have to like figure out a different way to store it on my shelf now. So yeah, so that just cracks me up. So anyways, Mac Miller's Divine Feminine. I picked this up because I really, really like Mac Miller. I have, what do I have? I have Circles, I have the NPR Tiny Desk, and I have Swimming currently. And so I wanted to get some more Mac because I just like him. And so I got the Divine Feminine because I love this album. Because he just sounds like happy, which is great. So yeah, stuff I would check out on here if I was you and had never heard Mac Miller before, or was brand new to the Divine Feminine experience. What would I pick? I would pick Dang. I thought that was really great. I would pick My Favorite Part. I would also pick God is Fair, Sexy, Nasty. And I think I would pick Congratulations, the first song. I mean, the entire thing is really great, but those were highlights for me, so maybe there'll be highlights for you as well. All right, next up we have a CD that I owned when it first came out, and then I gave away my CD collection, so I lost it. But I've got it back. And so this is the American Land edition of We Shall Overcome, The Seeger Sessions by Bruce Springsteen and the Seeger Sessions Band. This is really cool because it's Pete Seeger, it's folk music, but it's done by Bruce. So it's rock, essentially. It's like rocked up folk music. And it's fantastic. It's got this like gumbo feeling of all these traditional forms of like American music from, like that early sort of rock and roll sound. It's got definitely the folk vibe. And then it's got this like jazzy kind of quality to it as well. Very, very cool like mix of sounds, first of all. And then secondly, the tracks that he picked out were really, really cool, and they work very well together. If you have never heard the standard version of the Seeger Sessions before, what I would check out if I was you, I think Old Dan Tucker is great. I thought Jacob's Ladder was fantastic. My Oklahoma Home was a really good one. Pay Me My Money Down, and Froggy Wintercorton. So we have yet another tie back to another album that was in this purchasing thing, which was Ella Langley. So that's what I would check out on the standard version. If you're looking at the American Land version and you're like, well, what else would I want to hear on here? Well, How Can a Poor Man Stand Such Times and Live is amazing. It's also being updated by Bruce Springsteen, which is really cool. American Land is a fantastic romp of like a sort of almost like an Irish drinking song, but it's mixed in with all this Americana. How Can I Keep From Singing also stood out to me, having re-listened to the bonus tracks. But yeah, that's really great. I think the superior version of this album, though, is Live in Dublin, where he takes this on the road and then takes a bunch of his own previous work, and rocks it up in the exact same manner. That's a really, really good combination of all of those things. So I'm happy to have that to study from, but yeah, if I was just looking for casual listening, I might go for the Live in Dublin instead. All right, after that, we have Earl Sweatshirt and the Alchemist's Voix Durée. I've been listening to a lot of like hip hop that has a very sort of like lo-fi quality to it, because I was making hip hop that had a lo-fi quality to it. I don't rap. I just make beats. Just to clarify. And so yeah, so I just make beats. I post them online. You can find me pretty much anywhere, as I said, as ZEDBILLARD. I'm even on YouTube as that. So there you go. But yes, been listening to a lot of that just to get into that sort of vibe. And to like pay more attention to like the drums and like samples and stuff like that. And so it's been really good. But this was an album that kind of has stuck with me since it came out. This was in, I think, 2023. And this one also was one that like lived on my phone as I was traveling around a lot. And it was something that I would come back to at different times and just really enjoy. It's about 30 minutes of like music, and it's fantastic. Stuff I would check out on here if I was you and you were brand new to Earl Sweatshirt. God, I think 100 High Street was really fun. I liked Heat Check. Mancala was great. The Caliphate, Free the Ruler, My Brother the Wind, just fantastic stuff. But yeah, I like that a lot of it has maybe more of a, I'm gonna say like hopeful sound than a lot of like Earl Sweatshirt that I was familiar with had, and I think that's because I started listening to him with Doris, and then I Don't Like Shit, I Don't Go Outside, and so that was maybe a less happier version of Earl, and so I really like this, and it's been super helpful to just sit down and listen to how other people are making stuff, and then going to make stuff from that. And speaking of somebody else who I've like learned a little bit from in terms of that stuff, I bought Kanye West's Graduation. Um, I was trying to find the right Kanye West album that I wanted to get. I really enjoyed My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is essentially a remake of Graduation, almost in full, track for track, a couple albums after this, because in between is 808s and Heartbreak, I think, and it's just interesting that if you listen to Graduation and then you go and you listen to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, there is a bit of an overlap in terms of like the tracks listings, and all the stuff, all the rest of that stuff, and this is like by far the happier sounding of the two of them, which isn't to say that that's a bad thing. It's just to say that I think you learn a lot about Kanye and what was sort of going on maybe in his mind and his progression as an artist through this to 808s and Heartbreak, which I think is made after his mother passed away, to then My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. But yeah, Graduation. This is the one that I picked because, as I said, it's sort of the original, if you will, of that idea. It starts off with Good Morning, which is fantastic. Champion, awesome. Stronger is great. I Wonder. Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing. I'm just going to list all these off because you should just go listen to this. Good Life, Can't Tell Me Nothing, Barry Bonds, Drunken Hot Girls, Flashing Lights, Everything I Am, The Glory, Homecoming, and Big Brother. This, if you haven't ever heard it, this is like where it starts, for me at the very least. Yeah, this is so cool. And what's great about it, as I said, is that he essentially remakes this in a couple albums. I've just been repeating that because I really wanted to make that point. But yeah, so things that you're going to notice if you listen to the two. Good Morning kind of shares a vibe with the very first song on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which at this point in time escapes my memory. Flashing Lights has a lot of similar qualities, including the name to all of the lights. Drunken Hot Girls, which is basically like a traditional folk drinking song, makes its way onto this album, and then of course he has Bon Iver on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy towards the end of it. I was gonna say Stronger is kind of like Power. It's almost the opposite version of Power, and just yeah, I don't know. I just really like this album. I really like the way that the two of them fit together. And at some point in time, I will probably pick up My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy on CD. But for now, I wanted to get Graduation because, yeah, for me, this was like the beginning of all that stuff. So that was a really fun one to pick up and a really fun one to revisit. And yeah, just like that. as I said, it's like this incorporation of starting to bring like folk music into hip hop in like a different way than maybe it had been done traditionally, was just a really cool sort of idea to me. So that was something that I wanted to get out of that. And then we have our vinyl purchases. So the vinyls that we picked up this month were The Boys of Dungeon Lane by Paul McCartney. I got to see him preview one of the tracks of this on SNL one night when I was watching, and that was really, really cool. I really liked it. That was Days We Left Behind. And so I was like, oh, cool. I wonder what kind of like stuff Paul's up to these days. Turns out it's pretty cool. It's very like spacey, in sort of at times it's very like spacey and psychedelic, which is really cool. Almost like everything's being run through like a phaser or something. It's really great. And so yeah, stuff that I'm gonna like recommend to you if you're brand new to Paul McCartney. Obviously, you should probably go listen to the Beatles, and then Ram would be a good starting point. But if you're starting with The Boys of Dungeon Lane, which is also a good point to start from, because this has become the most played vinyl that I got this month. It would be As You Lie There was so cool. I really liked the way that it like has this sort of like almost like spoken word feel to it in the verses, and then it just like freaks out in the actual chorus part, like just spaces out. That's awesome. Lost Horizon was really, really cool. Ripples in a Pond was amazing. Down South, We Too was great. That's all off just the first half of this album. And then side B, I liked Home to Us. That was a lot of fun. And like First Star of the Night was really, really great. But yeah, this was such a cool sort of like packaging idea. And what he did with it that I really, really like about pretty much all albums is he has handwritten lyrics with like chords beside them, which is like super cool if you want to sit down and learn how to play the song from the album that you're listening to. So yeah, so I really enjoyed this. Packaging was super cool, and is that gonna go back in? Yes. And so the packaging was super cool. This was really neat. And it was actually super cool because like the night that I put this on for the first time, the sky was actually like lit up like bright pink and like yellow and gold and stuff, like much like this coloring. So that was a really neat thing. This is, I think, this is the pink edition. I don't know if that's like a special thing or not, but that's the one that I got, and I'm very, very happy with it. And I thought this was just super, super cool to sit down and listen to. And yeah, like if you see Days We Left Behind, that's like a small teaser of it, but like the album is radically different sounding from that. Like it's very, very cool. As I said, it's very like spacey. It's very like phased out. Like it's cool. The directions it goes in are really, really nice. And finally, we have our last pickup of the month, which was Casey Musgraves' Deeper Well. I remember listening to this when I was traveling around. I think I was listening to this big time in Korea, which was really fun because there's a song on here that's called Jade Green, and it was just after I'd gone to Sensoji and gotten this, and it has a little sort of like jade thing on it. And I was walking by this hotel, and it literally had, I think it was like the Jade Hotel or something. It was a very strange series of coincidences that I was very, very excited about at the time. But yeah, this album is just fantastic in and of itself. It's a little different from her other work, in the sense of like her first two albums, Different Trailer, Different Park, and Pageant Material are very sort of like country poppy sort of in sounding, and this is more like, it's like country, but it's also got that sort of like traditional balladry melodies mixed into it in ways, like very like sort of like Celtic music brought into it, like English bardic sort of traditional music, which is really cool. That's the best description I have for you at this point in time. But yeah, it's very, very cool. I really, really liked it. And then, as I said, like I listened to this a lot, I think when I was in Korea, and then probably Japan as well, just before that. And I loved it. It was really, really great. But yeah, stuff I would check out on here if I was you and had never heard a Casey Musgraves album before. Cardinal was great. Deeper Well was good. Give or Taker Jade Green, The Architect is really cool. I also really loved Heaven Is, and Anime Eyes is a song that just pops into my head all the time. That's probably the song that pops into my head is Anime Eyes off of this one. But yeah, this was really cool. I got the, I don't know, this is probably just old hat. This is really fun because there's like geese or ducks that sometimes wander over from next door, so I just think that's kind of fun. But this is it's a scented, this is a scented cover. It kind of smells like muted like Irish Spring soap almost. Like it's nice. It's a fun sort of like aroma, if you will. But yeah, this was actually really cool. This is, I think, it's the splatter version or something like that. But yeah, I was super happy to find this on vinyl because, as I said, this was something that I listened to while I was traveling around and really, really liked, and it stuck out to me. And it's been stuck in my head sort of ever since. So I would recommend that you check it out if you haven't. And if you have, maybe go re-listen to it. But yeah, that covers everything that I listened to over the past month. In terms of going into the next month, I don't even know. I'm probably going to keep an eye out for Live in Mexico as a physical release because I'm just interested in how it's going to be packaged. In the sense of the first half is going to be the live CD, and then the second half might be like a studio version, or at least that's how it seems like it's going to be laid out based off of what's on streaming right now. What's the new Olivia Rodrigo album called? I've been listening to that as well, and I really, really liked it because it's more like synth poppy than her previous stuff, which is more alternative rocky. Just a silly way to sort of describe those two things, but that's sort of to me the transition to that, and I enjoy it. Like I really like it because I do own Guts, and so it'd be fun to have sort of like this counterpoint album to it. So that's probably the two things that I'm gonna have highest on my radar, and then just like any sort of like old like blues stuff that I come across, because I find that just like kicks over my like want to learn how to play stuff more than anything else. So I have like a number of these complete blues collections of different artists, so I'll probably keep an eye out for more people like that. Just any sort of collection that pops up that I'm like really interested in. Probably like Skip James's original recordings. Leadbelly comes to mind as somebody who's on that list. I think Blind Willie McTell I have a note to keep an eye out for. Maybe Bobby Bland. I might want to get into some Bobby Bland. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's sort of like where my physical purchase ideas are going in the future. But yeah, I've been really happy with all this stuff. It's been really cool to listen to it out here, especially, and to be able to, yeah, just like bring my CD player outside and listen to stuff during the day. And yeah, as I said, like I've also been listening to my own lo-fi stuff, which the newest album that I made sitting right here in this chair, because it's super easy to bring the laptop out and just chop up your samples and throw your drums under it, and you're good to go. So yeah, that's all I got for you this month. If you're interested in checking out any of the stuff that I made, as I said, I'm on streaming as Zed Billard, Zedbillard. I might include a link down below if you want to check out any of that stuff. As I said, I do have a SoundCloud. It's not the most like mind-blowing music. It's just acoustic demos of just testing out like ideas and hopefully seeing what might work or might not work. But nobody really listens to that stuff anyway, so it's fine. I just keep making what I feel like making, and I've been enjoying the process of evolving that way. But yeah, that's it. All right, take care out there.